Welcome to Space Matrix. Please subscribe and hit the bell icon for more updates. Sometimes a single policy decision can shake the world. The Trump administration's tariffs were such a shock. Bold political statements that upended decades of American-led free trade. These tariffs signaled a dramatic shift. America First replaced the old consensus of global economic interdependence. Suddenly, countries that relied on the U.S. market faced uncertainty and scrambled to find new partners. The global system, once anchored by American leadership, began to drift, and new centers of gravity emerged. Nowhere was this more disruptive than in Asia, where both India and China, historic rivals, found themselves targeted by U.S. tariffs. Facing shared pressure from Washington, these two giants had a new reason to talk. External pressure forced them to reconsider their rivalry and explore cooperation. This video explores how U.S. tariffs, meant to strengthen America, unexpectedly fostered a closer relationship between India and China. We'll examine the policies, the reactions in New Delhi and Beijing, and the surprising examples of cooperation that followed. Ultimately, we'll see how one nation's attempt to reshape the world order sparked new alliances that could define the century. To understand the fallout, we must grasp the logic behind the tariffs. Tariffs are taxes on imports, designed to make foreign goods more expensive and protect domestic industries. The Trump administration's goal was to correct trade imbalances and protect American workers, especially from China's alleged unfair practices. This marked a sharp break from decades of U.S. support for globalization and free trade. The new America First approach gambled that the size of the U.S. market would force other countries to concede. The administration believed nations would have no choice but to change their trade practices or risk losing access to the lucrative American market. But this high-stakes bet would soon have unexpected consequences. The Trump tariffs didn't discriminate. Both China and India were hit. China faced a full-blown trade war, with tariffs on hundreds of billions in goods, aiming to address trade deficits and alleged intellectual property theft. India, a supposed U.S. partner, lost its preferential trade status, a blow that signaled even friends weren't safe from America First. Both nations suddenly found themselves targeted by unpredictable U.S. economic pressure. This shared experience forced New Delhi and Beijing to rethink their strategies. Instead of seeing each other as the main threat, both now faced a common challenge from Washington. The result, a powerful incentive to look past old rivalries and consider cooperation. The U.S. had inadvertently created a reason for India and China to align. India, stung by U.S. tariffs, began to question its reliance on Washington. The tariffs were seen as a sign of American unpredictability, prompting India to diversify its foreign policy. New Delhi revived its tradition of non-alignment, seeking strategic autonomy by engaging with multiple powers. China, despite being a rival, became a necessary partner in this new calculus. Diplomatic tone shifted, confrontational rhetoric softened, and leaders from both countries met in informal summits to build rapport. The message was clear: manage differences, don't let them derail broader cooperation. India wasn't abandoning the U.S., but hedging its bets in an uncertain world. By engaging China, India sent a message to both Washington and Beijing: it would not be taken for granted. Ironically, U.S. tariffs meant to pressure India instead nudged it closer to America's main competitor. Strategic flexibility became India's new mantra. India and China's new understanding wasn't just talk, it led to real cooperation. At the World Trade Organization, both nations defended the multilateral trading system against U.S. protectionism. They jointly worked to preserve the WTO's dispute settlement mechanism, paralyzed by the Trump administration. In Asia, both promoted regional economic integration as a buffer against American unilateralism. India's engagement in the China-backed Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, even without joining, signaled a shift. Bilateral trade and investment grew, with Chinese tech firms investing in India's digital economy. Despite security concerns, economic logic prevailed. India offered Chinese companies a vast alternative market. In forums like BRICS and the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, India and China often aligned on global issues. Together, they promoted non-Western institutions, building a parallel global governance structure. The American tariffs accelerated their joint efforts to create a more multipolar world. The India-China cooperation sparked by U.S. tariffs marks a fundamental shift in Asia's power dynamics. For years, the U.S. played India and China against each other, maintaining its influence in the region. The tariffs disrupted this balance, giving both nations a reason to bridge their divides. India's cooperation with China weakens the U.S. strategy of building a coalition to contain Beijing. The old democracies versus autocracies narrative is less compelling than pragmatic economic interests. Despite unresolved conflicts, India and China have learned to compartmentalize, cooperating economically while managing security disputes. This strategic maturity has surprised many in the West. The shift accelerates the move toward a multipolar world, ending the era of American unipolarity. When two giants representing over a third of humanity coordinate, they create a new center of power. This new Asian axis, born from shared resistance to U.S. policy, could reshape global debates on trade, technology, and law. The future of the international order will no longer be decided by Washington alone. The Trump tariffs and the India-China rapprochement are a lesson in unintended consequences. America First, meant to reassert U.S. dominance, instead brought its main competitors closer together. Economic nationalism isolated the U.S. from evolving Asian dynamics. The India-China pivot shows that American leverage isn't absolute. Other nations have agency and will seek new partnerships. The world is moving toward multiple centers of power, not a single global rule setter. India and China's ability to cooperate and compete will define 21st century geopolitics. The tariffs' legacy may be the acceleration of a post-American world, not a manufacturing revival. In trying to build walls, the U.S. ended up building bridges between its rivals, reshaping the world order in unexpected ways.